Jesse Waters brought Lindsey Graham onto his show, and it was just a bloodbath. Interestingly enough, Jesse Waters agrees with Lindsey Graham on everything Lindsey Graham's going to say, except for the timing and strategy of Lindsey Graham proposing this abortion bill. So if you missed it, Lindsey Graham came out somewhat randomly and proposed a 15-week abortion ban nationwide. And that was important by itself. But then also I think why he's gotten a lot of heat for it is the timing of it's horrible, and it's so contradictory to everything he said about his stance on abortion previously. So many of these Republicans liked to pretend that their only stance was that abortion should be left up to the states. And they would say, I'm pro-life. I would want it to be restricted in my state, but, you know, to each their own, or to each its own, whichever the phrase is. And other states can figure it out on their own, and it should be a states' rights issue. Well, then all of a sudden, Lindsey Graham comes out with this federal abortion ban, right as you'll see Jesse Waters say here, it seemed like maybe the Republican Party got a good tool to attack Biden with, a fresh bad inflation numbers that they could use. And at that exact same moment, Lindsey Graham comes out and gives the Republican Party a huge kick in the gut, because as we know, America is not on board with their stance. They're just not. So watch this. It's a pretty long clip. I won't show the entire thing, but I'll show a lot more than I usually show, just because so much of this is entertaining and fascinating to watch.
Senator Lindsey Graham joins me now. So, Senator Graham, Republicans are
Senator Lindsey Graham joins me now. That was so weird.
Very angry at you. You're getting a lot coming for this.
Yeah. It's like he's half singing. Very angry at you.
Why'd you do it on that day? Not great timing. Don't you see that?
I'm proudly pro-life, and I have no apology for being pro-life, and there's no bad time to defend the unborn. So if you expect me to sit on the sidelines and watch the Democratic Party try to pass the most radical abortion law in the history of the country, you're talking to the wrong guy. What do I oppose? Schumer and Pelosi have proposed a law for the entire nation that will allow abortion on demand until the point of birth.
Okay, so I don't know why that's such a common talking point all the time. Oh my gosh, and some Republicans go, and they think that abortion should be legal after birth. Totally, okay. But even that's not true. The bill says viability is the line, and then states would be allowed to restrict abortion access and healthcare services relating to abortion after the line of viability, except if the healthcare providers have, reasoned that the mother's life is in danger, which is what they pretend to care about. Because as we've talked about, some of these super restrictive abortion bans have devastating consequences when there's no understanding that oftentimes you need to do an abortion after the line of viability whenever the fetus is no longer viable, or it dies, or the mother's life is at stake, whatever it is. Whenever you don't clearly lay that out, it causes huge problems. And so that's what the Democratic bill would do. It would say you can't restrict abortion before viability, and then after you can, except for in this case.
7 nations on the planet have that,
which again would be the life of the mother.
Extreme view. China and North Korea are
I
2
got
of the
it.
7.
We all agree on that,
Well, no, wait a minute. Now, listen. I'm not going to sit on the sidelines and let America become that kind of nation.
No one's saying you need to sit on the sidelines, but yesterday wasn't the day to do that. Yesterday was the day they lost all momentum when this inflation thing punched them right in the face, and you gave them an out. A lot of people don't like that. You could have done it on any other day, just like you could have delayed the whole press conference, like Joe should have delayed that stupid party.
So I take issue. I don't think there's a bad day to stand up for the unborn. What am I trying to say?
I hate that talking point for all the reasons you would expect, but then also just narrowing in on him. There's never yes, there's pretty much a bad time to do anything in politics. You have to be strategic with when you decide to fight on certain issues, when you decide to propose certain legislation. You know it'll have an effect on the conversation. And right now, Republicans are getting backhanded over and over politically because of the issue of abortion. So you throwing that into the mix is going to hurt your party, which I love. Go Lindsey Graham. He's helping out the Democratic Party right now a lot. Obviously not go Lindsey Graham, because what he's trying to do is something bad. But because we know that that piece of legislation has no chance of passing, I kind of like that he did it so that it can show who the Republican Party is. Because this is what they would want to do in their ideal world. And they pretend that it's not. But him proposing this has absolutely made that more clear.
That America needs to have a policy that makes us a civilized nation. It would bother me that if a baby's aborted at 38 weeks in California, New York, what am I proposing for our country? That at 15 weeks, when the baby can feel...
Again, let's just think about this logically. Who out there, I'm just saying intuition, who out there would decide to do all of the physical labor it takes to develop a fetus and then decide at 30 something weeks, never mind, I went through all of that, but now I just want to randomly abort it? That's not a thing. If people don't want to have to go through pregnancy, they get abortions earlier than that. If they do, sometimes things go wrong and then you're forced to do that so that the baby, for example, doesn't come out and immediately suffocate. That was one of the stories we heard where the doctor said, we know once you birth it, it's going to immediately, be in a lot of pain and die. So the best course of action would be to abort it right now, but because of the laws, we can't, and it's going to cause a lot of problems. So that's the only thing that Lindsey Graham is, fear-mongering about. And they pretend like they care about the life of the mother, but they obviously don't, based on this legislation, based on their articulation of their views.
Pain. You provide anesthesia to save its life. If you operate on it, it should be protected from being dismembered by an abortionist. That puts us in line with France, Germany, Great Britain. They all have abortion bans below 15
I
weeks.
understand. And the people are with you on that. No, you're right.
I'm not going to apologize.
You're right. No.
Ever apologize about standing up for the unborn. And you know what? We need to go on the...
Okay, first of all, I don't want to get into a whole discussion about why the abortion stance that I have is correct, but go watch previous segments. I can't take the fact that he acts so morally justified. There's never a bad time to fight for the unborn. How about you fight for the born once in your life? How about you do something to help people who are already born, who aren't still in the process of being manufactured by another biological being, who gets to have the, decision-making power to decide if she still wants to use her bodily functions to create that being, and do something for people who are already individual beings with rights outside of the womb? How about you fight for people who are born once before you act all moral about how much you're going to protect the unborn?
Offensive here.
It's not what's in your heart. Americans agree with that. They're against abortion after the first trimester. But there, you got to talk tactics, Senator. It's terrible timing, terrible tactics. We could have shoved this down their throat on the day the Americans got hammered with this inflation number and the market crashing. And now all the media and the Democrats are talking about federal abortion ban, federal abortion ban. That's not smart politics, right?
They're lying. Here's what
What are we lying about? We say 15-week federal abortion ban. That's what it is.
I would say, I know, everybody knows inflation's out of control. This is the most extreme agenda for the American people on the border when it comes to crime. And let me just say this. It is now time for the pro-life community to lend their voice to the most extreme measures being pushed by the Democratic Party.
Okay, so you got kind of the back and forth there. So really fascinating. I've been thinking, don't know why Lindsey Graham chose to do this right now. I don't know if it's because the reality in his state maybe would make it where this is good for him, or particular donor groups would give him a lot of money if he did this, or he just randomly wanted a bunch of attention and wanted to be in the center of the political conversation. I don't know. But it's definitely political suicide for the Republican Party. Obviously, it's the wrong decision from a policy perspective, but I can't understand it, and clearly even the right wing feels that way. We'll get to more examples of this later in the show. But Jesse Watters there grilling Lindsey Graham for his pretty bad but shockingly transparent and honest as far as what the Republican Party stands for decision-making with this piece of legislation.